Alright, so I got a little job gonna happen here today. Swept the floor to the shop, and I've got my 2010 F-150 in here. I had some problems with it. It's kind of annoyed the hell out of me. The engine's fine, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. It does need to have the oil changed, but I mean, you know, just one of those things. I will get to that as soon as I'm done doing the job at hand. Well, about 2 years ago, I had this sucker all ripped apart, and I replaced the exhaust manifolds. So the exhaust manifolds are down there, and this just is a shitty job. No matter how you slice it and dice it, it's just a shitty job. The studs are okay because they're stainless steel. I put those in there the last time. And I've got the fender well out, and I'm going to show you the crack. The crack is right there. And these are the Napa. These are the Napa ones. I bought Napa ones again because I bought these from a local shop, and he told me that these would be way better than what the Ford ones were. And again, I spoke to some people, and a guy from Ford, he says, buy the ones from Napa, they're actually better than the Ford ones. Well, that's kind of weird because original equipment usually is the best you can get, but apparently it's not. So I'm feeling a little bit shitty today. I got a pain in my chest. I don't know what the hell it is. Whatever. Anyway, I'm just going to work at this and get on with my damn day. Okay. So I guess I'm not doing a very good job of videoing this mess that I'm in. But what I will say is about 2 years ago, 2 years ago, it was 2015. 2015, it was, I had jumped to this truck and actually snapped off a couple of manifold studs in this Ford F-150. Now, when I did that, yeah, I was like, whatever. A couple of manifold studs is a pretty common problem to have with a Ford. Not really any big deal, right? So I figured, alright, I'll go over to my local repair shop and tell him what I've got and get him to order me up the right manifolds, which I found to be a mistake. And the reason I say it's a mistake is because he told me to buy the Chinese manifolds over the Ford manufacturer manifolds, which I found to be rather disturbing, but he also said that they're identical. He said they're not identical. They're both, doesn't matter. They're both made in China. It doesn't matter whether you're buying one in China or if you're buying one Ford or if you're buying the aftermarket one. I says, well, alright, I'll buy the aftermarket one. You get me the right one for that. That way I know that I got the right ones and I'll do the job. So he did. He bought them for me. And of course it cost me like $800 frickin' for these parts. And this is what I bought. This is it. It's like China Incorporated right there. That's what it says. And this is the crack that these new manifolds that are they cracked right away. It didn't take them long at all to crack. And it kind of aggravated me. I'm going to see if you can see that crack. I mean, it goes all the way. I mean, there's that. And then it goes all the way around here. And, I mean, these things are shot. They'd heat up and it wouldn't sound as bad after it would heat up. But still, an exhaust leak is an exhaust leak and I hate it. So, there, it just broke into a bunch of pieces. So, this is what it looked like. All that exhaust going into me. I could smell exhaust in the truck. Teresa's pretty much decided she ain't gonna ride with me as long as it stinks like that. So I'm okay with it. I'll change them out. So I went down to local Napa because I talked to another friend of mine, and I'll actually talked to a couple of friends of mine, and one of them works for Ford, and he says, listen, go get Napa ones. Napa ones are better, as good if not better than the ones from Ford. I was like, alright. I wasn't happy with the last batch that I got. So, what did I do? I went down to Napa and I paid $90 for this side. Actually, this was $110. The other side. I usually buy the stainless steel studs. Alright. And you're supposed to drive those things in there, obviously, with a little metric driver because it's a pain in the ass. And this is something like a 5. It is. It's a 5mm. These are stainless steel, so you can't screw this up because this is the end that sticks outward. Now, in order to get them out of that little tight little hole, and that's what it is, a tight little hole, I might want to take these off. These are the Ford manifold gaskets, which I used because I was told that they would be the best to use. I'm not going to do that again. I'm actually going to use the ones that came with the kit, which look a little different. Where are they? These are a little bit thicker, and I think there's a cushioning effect. Let's take some of that harmonic out of there. But I'm going to use these instead. This is what's going to go in there. But I'm going to use the Never Sees. I'm going to stick these bad boys up on there so that everything goes in the way they're supposed to with the proper manifolds, and that'll be that. Hopefully everything goes on there right. And yeah, if you can't tell, I'm a little disgusted with this job. I hate it. But in order to get that manifold out of there, you actually have to take the motor mount off and get under there with, I use a railroad jack. That's the one right there. I put it on the engine block. Don't jack off the oil pan, because if you jack off the oil pan, you will have a leak of oil. If you have a dirty mind, you'll probably think I meant something else, but the jack goes on the engine block where the oil pan meets the engine block, and you should have no problems. So I'm going to go ahead and get those studs put up in there, and then put these up in there, and then I will probably set the camera up and you can watch me scream, curse, and swear at it as I put it back together. Alright, so here's the other side. Broke in the same spot. You can see it. And down there. If you can't tell, I hate this job so bad. I shouldn't even complain about it, but I really don't like this job. But I'm doing it. Anyway, I got the other side in, and you can probably see now how difficult it is to actually get anything in there. This is where it is. You got to take the fender well out. You can see it right there, all up inside there. So I'm sure there's going to be some people say, that's a Ford for you. Well, I've seen people do this to Dodges. I've seen them do it to GMC, Chevys, whatever you want to call them. It's the same asshole job. Everything is so tight in there anymore. You know, all the crap they got to put on these things. I mean, look at this. I took the fender well out, obviously, and I've got this here. This will show you a little better that crack. You could see it not in the direct light there. Maybe you could see it right there, cracked right down there. I ended up torching that piece off because it's impossible to get to from the backside. And there's no, it's not impossible, it's just worthless. It's a pain in the ass to even, pointless to fight with it. But I have to get to this motor mount bolt that's there, okay? And in order to do that, I actually have to pull the starter out. So before I do that, before I pull the starter out, I'm actually going to take the hot lead off. I'm going to take the hot lead off the battery because it's just going to cause me an ass ache if I don't. So that's pretty simple. It's actually good to do this from time to time. It resets the computer. If there's any defaults or faults or anything, it resets them. So resets the faults to the defaults. So I'm going to pop that bad boy off of there, and then I should be pretty safe to screw around with that. Starter, and I'll show you when I get that out. Yes, I'm sweating. It's hot. Okay, I just got the starter, I just got the starter out of this thing. Now, anybody that's ever worked on a 2010 starter, or 2010 F-150, this starter's a real cocksucker. I'm telling you, a real major rooster fish going on here. This thing, it has 3 bolts in it, okay? And the only way, I'm going to use my flashlight because I don't have proper lighting. You see my socket set right there? I'm going to have to pull that out of there. You have to have enough extensions to go all the way to the front, fish it behind, and then you can get to that hole that's back in there for that starter that's right there. Now this is an original starter, and I've been messing with this thing now for too long. For a little too long. Looks good. I think I'm actually going to lube it up a bit before I put it in here, or before I put it back in here, because it's just, I'm afraid, as hard as that is to get to, this bolt, these two bottom bolts, the bottom and the side bolt really isn't a big deal, but this top one, man, that's a real cocksucker. But anyway, with that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and continue to work my way down with this thing. Now, the reason I had to take the starter out of there is because you have to jack that engine up to get enough room to get that. I recommend washing the truck before you do this. I'm probably pretty filthy by now. I mean, I got dirt and sweat and shit. But anyway, I did finally get the engine mount bolt out. Yes, I did. And now I've lost my flashlight again because I do that a lot. Ah, here it is. And now you can see I got it jacked up with the railroad jack. And yeah, so now I've got plenty of room to actually get my hands down in there. You can actually see the studs from the back side here. So it makes the job a lot easier if you actually do take the dreaded starter, the dreaded Ford starter out of there. It makes it a lot easier. So I would recommend that, like, big time. Bigly. I would recommend it bigly. So I'm sure there are some persistent people that would definitely stick their tiny little hands up in there, but I got these meat claws. I can't get them up in there. But now I'll be able to. It shouldn't be any big deal at all. I'll just go ahead and put the studs and everything in the right way, the way they're supposed to. And yeah, so let me get the rest of this friggin' manifold off of here. Oh yeah. I've been working again another hour or so. Got into a fist fight with the exhaust pipe, but I ended up taking the one stud back out till I dropped the motor. Then I can just fish it up in there. Getting ready to tighten up these bolts here. This one and this one. I think there's a note to self that needs to be taken, and that is, when you're buying these aftermarket pieces, don't let anybody tell you to do something other than what the aftermarket company sends you, because these are the Ford ones. They're expensive actually, but they're a multi-piece, two-piece gizmo, and they say Ford Motor Company, and they're just flat. They're just flat gaskets. I don't know that they really do a hell of a lot other than swell up. You know, you wouldn't think. They're just basically a barrier more than a gasket. So I'm actually using the ones that came with the kit. So anyways, I'm going to get back to it, and I think I've sweat every ounce of water I've drank today, because I've only peed once. So yeah, it means I'm not drinking enough, but I just went out and got another drink of water. It's probably 85 degrees here. I'm sweating like a son of a bitch because it's stagnant. There's storms crossing Pennsylvania, and I want this job done before I go home tonight. It's getting late. I don't know, what time is it? I could always take a look at that. 6:38. So there you go. So I'm done. I'm just going to pull this out and shut my doors. It's running, obviously. I bought this truck, I think you might remember, some of my older subscribers, in 2010 when I had trouble with the 550 down in Florida. You may remember the great bolt fiasco when I had a new engine put into my 550. I did a short block assembly, and the short block assembly, the guys that did it decided they wanted some more work later on, so what they did was they put, let me shut this radio crap off, because the short block assembly, they wanted more work later on, so they put a bolt in the head. Oh wow. So anyway, tomorrow I'm going to grease it. So right now it's running like a, oh, it sounds brand new. It sounds brand new, which is what it's supposed to do.